Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are continuing my Ireland series, and we are going to visit another library. Very different library from the library we visited at Trinity College, and you'll see right away in the photos why that is. And I'll explain to you what kind of a library and where this is located in case you want to go visit it too. It has some really interesting things in it. It's called the Marsh Library, and it is right near St. Patrick's Cathedral. I think I mentioned that as I'm putting the layout together for you, but just in case I didn't mention it, now you have it twice. So if you're ever in Dublin, be sure you go and check it out. It's got some really great stuff. And this layout is following one of the virtual crop sketches from June, so I hope it's helpful for you if you haven't already done yours, or if you'd like to do it again and maybe use something else, a different paper or something. Yeah, let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, so this is my desktop for today, and the photos we're going to be working with today are from another library. I know we did several pages a few weeks back for the Book of Kells and the library at Trinity College. This library is the Marsh Library, and the Marsh Library sits fairly close to St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. And my youngest daughter decided that she wanted to go check it out. And so she went on her own while we were all enamored with the cathedral. She looked at the cathedral a bit, but then she went over to the library and took several pictures. And so this layout is an homage to that experience. There was a beautiful garden out front she took several pictures of. This library is famous for maps, and so we'll get to that when we get to the photos eventually. But because it is a library, and because the Croptoberfest papers from I'm forgetting what year, so forgive me a second, from 2023, so just our last Croptoberfest, these papers with the owls theme work so well for a library that I pulled these back out again. I still had a few left, and I have enough to do layout number 4, sketch number 4 from the June virtual crop. So that's the one we're going to focus on today, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this comes together. There are quite a few smaller photos in this layout. I have modified it. There are way much more than 4 photos in this layout. In fact, I haven't counted all of them, but there's more than twice as many photos as you see here in the layout. So we've modified it just a little, but the basic bones of this layout are here and are the same. So I hope that it will be helpful for you, and helpful for you to see how when you have a lot of photos, yes, you can use peekaboo pockets. Yes, you can do multiple layouts if that's what you prefer, but you also can do some creative cropping and fit more on 2 pages if that's what you want to do. So let's get started. I have my flag punch out. If you have your flag punch, that's what we're going to use to make these flags down here, or at least most of them, until the piece of paper we're using is too short for me to feed in here, which will happen. But we are going to utilize this as much as we can, just because I've got it, so why not use it, right? And I will show you a way to make these flags without having that, but if you do have your flag punch and you want to use it, I highly recommend it. I think it will come in very handy. So I've got a selection of the papers from this Croptoberfest kit, and if you have used a Croptoberfest kit before, then you know that there are 6 sheets of paper, but all 6 sheets are double-sided, and basically you get 2 of each kind. And so this sheet right here is the one that's duplicated. The stripes are on the back of the golden trees. And so we are going to use both sides of that paper. That's why I'm showing you both of them. And this one we will use to make the flags, and we'll see how that all comes together. Anyway, I'm going to just set this one aside because we won't get to that one for just a little bit here. We're going to do a few other things first. And I'm going to actually remove the photos as well, so you can see I've got quite a few photos that we're going to be adding onto this. So I'm just going to stack those and move those out of the way so that we can cut some paper here. Okay, so those are just going to sit off to the side. All right, so the first thing that we are going to do is I'm going to grab my trimmer, and we're going to start with the biggest pieces. Okay, so that's going to be this paper right here. We're going to do a couple of things with this paper. This paper has the owls on the back, all those cute little owls, and I want a horizontal piece of that paper, so I want 2 vertical pieces, and then I want one that's horizontal. So what we're going to do is it's going to be this outside piece here, and the measurements for that are 5.5 by 11. That means we're cutting 1 inch off of it. So I'm just going to take 1 inch off the top. Or no, actually, I'm sorry. I'm going to take 1 inch off the bottom, and I'm just going to measure. I'm using my lower shoulder on my trimmer to keep the widest edge of my paper straight, and measuring, since it's under 1 3/4 inches, I'm measuring on the right hand side of my cutting blade. So I'm measuring to the 1 inch grid mark here, and we're just going to cut that off so that we have a 12-inch strip of the cute little owls. Okay, so we'll set that aside. We are going to come back to that in just a minute. The trees, mind you, are going to be a 5.5 inch, 2 5.5 inch by 11 pieces. So I want this full tree to be one of the pieces. So that's why I just turned this upside down, so I can measure to the very edge of my trimmer. That's 5.5 inches. So we're going to measure one piece at 5.5 inches. Then we're going to measure another piece at 5.5 inches, and the remaining bit of paper is just going to be an extra piece that maybe we can use on a card somewhere or something. So I'm just going to set that aside over there. All right, so that piece is going to go on this side. So then we're going to bring in this pretty gold paper, and I'm going to need a piece that is 6 inches of this. So I've got my little cheater piece of plastic here, and I know you can't see that very well, so I'm going to mark it again. So give me just a second here. Let me grab my permanent Sharpie. I'll make a big old 6 up there. Okay, so if you have the CM trimmer and it's aggravating for you to have to move the arm out every time you need to cut a 6-inch piece, this is my best tip. And I did not invent this. I got this from another advisor who I am failing to remember who exactly it came from, but it was not me originally. That's basically the point I'm trying to make. So I apologize that I can't remember who it was that came up with that first, but it is pretty awesome to not have to measure every time we need 6 inches. So I've got a 6 by 12 piece of this now. I need a 6 by 9 piece. It's the piece that's going to go here in the middle on each side. So we're going to have to move our arm out to measure the 9-inch piece, or we could just take 3 inches off, but we'll just measure 9 inches. That's not hard, right? And let me make sure the foot on the bottom of this is out. There we go, so that it's level. Okay, so 9 inches. And then we're gonna just set this off to the side. We may end up using that, I'm not sure. All right, so here is a 9-inch piece that's gonna go here. Then we're gonna do the same thing with this piece. This is gonna be a 6-inch piece. Since I have the arm out, I just left it out because I'm gonna need it here in just a second. We're going to need another 9-inch piece, 9 by 6. So we just turn that horizontally and cut another piece at 9 inches. Set that over there and set that over there. Okay, so this is going to go here. So now we have our 2 main bottom pieces. I need 2 pieces that are 1.5 by 12 inches to go across here. And to do that, I'm going to use this blue with a stripe in it because I just like it. I think it's cool. So we're going to cut 2 of these at 1.5 inches, and the stripes are going to be vertical rather than horizontal, which may seem odd, but I feel like when I see stripes on a wall, they tend to be vertical rather than horizontal, and that's what this reminds me of, like a wall of like a wallpaper is what it reminds me of. So we're going to go with that. Stripes are going to be vertical. Then we're going to do another one at 1.5 inches to match for the other page. Okay, so here's this one for this page. All right, so it looks like we've got all the pieces from up here good to go. Now we need these 2 pieces down here, which are 6 by 2. So I'm going to come back in here with these. Let's see if these are 6 inches. They are 6 inches. So I could just cut these into 2-inch pieces, and then we will be good to go. So let me just make sure that those are at the same level. Okay, so we're going to, when you're cutting stripes, it's just really important that your lines are straight, because it'll be real noticeable if your lines are off for any reason. All right, so the only problem with doing this is that now these stripes are going horizontal and the upper stripes are going vertical this way. But what we could do, no, I really think they need to match. So I'm going to bring this strip back in. This strip is 12 inches. So we just need to cut this in half and we will be good. And let's make sure it's 2 inches, because I think this looks wider than 2 inches. But let's see. Yeah, this is wider than 2 inches. So we're just going to trim this and make sure that it fits the measurements, the parameters of what we're doing. All right. Here we go. Okay, so these are going to be our 2 pieces for down here. And then we need a 1/2 inch piece that's 1/2 by 6 inches that will go across here. That's going to be our owls. Remember how I said set them to the side and hold on to them? So we need a 1/2 inch strip that's going to be our owls. So I'm just going to line this up. And the tall owl is the problem, because he is a little taller than a 1/2 inch. And I don't want to cut his head off. So let me just check here and make sure. I think I need to just squeeze him over just a little bit more. So really I am making this 5/8 rather than a 1/2 inch, just so that I don't cut the white owl's head off, because that would be rude. I can hear my children saying, that would be rude to cut his head off. I agree. All right. And actually we might not need quite that much. I don't know why. So it could be that it just is shifting. I'm gonna put just a little bit of repositionable adhesive on this 1-inch strip so that I can lay it down where I want it to be and have it stay. This is the battle that I fight with paper sometimes, to get it to stay long enough for me to cut it where I want it. Right? You fight that battle too? Alright, I like that better. It's a little bit more where it needs to be. Okay. So now we've got our line of owls, but I do want this to be 6 inches. So we're going to trim this at 6 inches. And then we've got one for either side. And then the only other thing we need to do is I need the paper that we're going to do the flags in. And trying to figure out how wide to make these flags is a little bit of a challenge, to be quite honest. I think they need to be just shy of 1 inch. So, and when I say just shy, I don't mean a full 1/8 of an inch. I mean a 1/16 of an inch shy of 1 inch. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut a couple of strips of this last sheet of paper that are, I don't know what that measurement is. 15/16, I guess, is what that would be in the American way of measuring. 15/16 of an inch wide, and then we're going to make each of the flags about 1 inch long to the longest point. Okay, so I'm cutting 3 just to be safe, because who knows, I may get wild and crazy and trim things really funny. But so for now, we're going to just leave these, and we will punch and trim our flags at the end of assembling these pages. Okay, so these are the pieces for the right hand side. These are the pieces for the left hand side. I'm going to go ahead and leave the pieces for the right hand side underneath there for a moment, and we will focus on assembling the left hand side of the page first. Hold on just a second, because I actually stacked all my extra pieces on top of my page. That's not helpful to my cause. All right, here we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove the photos that I've already set on here. And if any of you have ever wondered how I know how many photos fit, this is how I know. I play with sizes and I print them in different sizes and just start trying to assemble and arrange and decide what fits where. It's a lot of trial and error, and that's just the way that it works. Okay, so now the way this is designed to go is you would center, put the edges together, put the edge of this one right into the jeeping, and then have an equal amount on the top and the bottom. But I'm worried that the trees, because they are so light, are going to get lost on this page. So I may actually need to wallpaper the page, which I really hadn't wanted to do, but I'm worried the trees are going to just, like I said, get completely lost if we don't. So let me get some cardstock that we can put underneath, or at least make an outer frame for this, because otherwise this paper will not be able to be seen. I was worried about that. And yeah, give me a second. Okay, so I'm thinking probably hot fudge is going to be the better choice, because the blue will show up really well under the or on top of the hot fudge. But navy would also be a choice, and it looks like the blue actually would show up on top of the navy as well. Ooh, I kind of like the navy. Let's do navy. All right. The only thing the only thing about this is it does add weight, so I'm going to gut the center of this so that I'm not wasting my cardstock. So let me show you how I'm going to do that real quick. We're going to stack these, so we're going to do them both at the same time, and we're just going to create a frame that's going to go around the outer edge like a big C. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go ahead and place our paper using the upper shoulder at the 1-inch mark. And I'm going to bring my blade up here. I'm going to put the edge of my blade housing at the 2-inch mark, and I'm going to cut all the way down. All right. Because I know that my blade sits right here in the middle, that white line on my trimmer is where my blade sits. This is a 2-inch housing, and the blade sits at the 1-inch mark right in the middle. So if I put the edge of my housing an inch farther down than where I want to start cutting, the math works. All right, so I'm going to just flip this over. We're going to do that same cut one more time using the upper shoulder out to the 1-inch mark, lining this front edge of my trimmer housing, the blade housing, with the 2-inch mark on my trimmer, cutting all the way down. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to be careful when we get to the bottom and stop. So I'm going to line up this white line on the side with the cut that I made here, follow it down, and stop when that white line gets to the cut at the bottom. All right, and then I should be able to just lift this right out, pretty much. And then I've got all this cardstock that I saved and can use on another project. Plus, it lessens the amount of weight on my page, which is important in these albums, because as I was lifting my Ireland album up the other day to show someone, I realized, wow, it's very heavy already, and we haven't even reached the end of day 1. So keep that perspective, and understand that I am a little concerned at how many pages and how many photos I am putting in my album. I really do I want them all, so that's part of the problem. And I want to be able to, you know, use all of the peekaboo pockets, which would be lovely and fun, but I also want to be able to lift my albums and look at them without hurting myself or anyone else hurting themselves. All right, so I'm just lining my edge, the outer edge of the C, up with the edge of the jeeping on the outside edge, and then going to make sure the forks of it line up with the edge of my paper. Okay, so there's that. And this is going to be much better because we'll be able to see those trees. See how they pop off the page now where they were just blending in before. We couldn't see them at all. Now we're going to cover them. I'm sorry to say, but a significant amount of them will be covered with photos. But at least we know there's paper there now, because we can see the edges. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, looking at this one, I've got a 1/2 inch on top and a 1/2 inch on the bottom. So when I'm going to place this one first, a 1/2 inch from the top, so that I can make the edges seamless, right? So the edges go right together. So again, a 1/2 inch of adhesive in about 5 spots down the side. And I just put a little bit more on the ends so that they lay nice and flat. I'm butting this up right against the edge of the gold paper, see that? And it may be just a hair high, but that's okay, it'll be fine. All right, then the 6 inch, let's see. All right, so I'm gonna grab my 6 by 2 piece, and I'm going to put that on first, and it's going to go right here. I'm going to make it even with the base of the tree piece, so that, because I can cover this gap with my owls. Does that make sense? And actually I'm going to use repositionable adhesive for this piece, just in case I need to be able to lift it up, because I need to be able to slide my flags up underneath these owls just a little bit. So I'm going to take the owls, and the owls are going to sit right on top of my blue striped piece of paper, flush with that, and so they will cover up that little gap that I had, and they will be ready for me to put my flags underneath. Okay, then this one up here, this one is going to go about, I don't know, I'm going to go with about 3/8 of an inch from the top of my paper. So not a 1/2 inch, but a little more than 1/4. And that will go across there. Okay, so now we need to do some flags so that we can get those on, and then then we can put pictures on, because we'll know where the flags are going to be. And the pictures, if they need to cover the flags, then they will. All right, so here are my first two flags. I'm going to grab my trimmer and bring that in here. And this is why I said I'm cutting 3 pieces, because when I punch the ends of this, it cuts that much off. So it would be really nice to be able to use those in another layout. So I'm going to save those, and then I'm going to take this and measure it. We're going to put a 1 inch. We're going to measure these to 1 inch. 1 inch. Sure seems like they ought to be just a little bit longer than that. I'm going to go to 1 1/8. Okay, so we're going to cut these at 1 1/8. Yeah. And then I think I'm going to turn them over as well and use okay. Actually, I'm going to recommend that we cut them at 1 1/4. That will give us a little bit of room to adhere them underneath the owls that are there. And never fear, I'm going to use this one. We'll just put him up blunt against the edge. If you don't have a flag punch, if you are just working with your scissors, then you're in luck. So I would say just go ahead and cut your pieces of your 1-inch strips. I would cut them into 1¼ inch lengths, and then I will talk with you in just a second about how to cut your flags if you don't already know, and you'll be off to the races. Okay, so there's 4. Let's do 2 more. I may actually have only needed 2 after all. If you are using your flag punch and you have cut your strips at, what did we say it was, 15/16 like I did, you do have to center it in here, otherwise it's your notch is not going to be in the center, so don't forget that you need to do that. Okay, and then this one, all right. You know what? Bear with me. I'm just going to go ahead and do the ones for the other side too while we're at it. That way I don't have to come back and do this again. Alright, I did say I was going to show you how to do this without using the punch, so that's why I only cut that one last one. So what you will do is, oh, I didn't cut. Alright, I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind. Let me go back. So I need a 1¼ inch piece. So I'm measuring to 1¼ cutting that off. Then I'm going to take this little 1¼ by 1 inch piece, and I'm going to take some scissors. You can use precision point scissors, you can use your regular CM scissors, you can use whatever you normally scrapbook with. You're going to take the end that needs to be notched, and you're going to gently squeeze the 2 corners so that they meet right here. Okay? Try not to crease the middle, but if you crease the middle, it's okay. You're going to open it back up again. It will be fine. You're going to start cutting from the outside edge where you put those points together, cut towards the middle, and go up. This one goes up a little more than ½ inch. But you can make your notch as deep as you want to when you're cutting it on your own. Generally, it's 1/4 to ½ inch. Generally. Alright, so there's that one. Good to go there. Stick those back up there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get these attached, and I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive because I want these points to be all the way down. I'm going to leave a little bit of a buffer on either end, so we're going to leave about 1/8 inch. Oh, and I just said I was going to use the plaid. Maybe we'll do both. That can't hurt, can it? Okay, so we're going to do every other flag a different way. And this is the one I cut short, remember, so I'm going to put it there for right now. Give me just a second though, because the best way to do this is to go ahead and adhere either one on the end. Hang on, I have to raise this up just a little so that I can get him under. Okay, so we've got our 2 on the end. We've got our 1 that's going to be in the middle. If you're not sure where the middle is, then go ahead and measure. My husband is always saying, I should measure more often. But then he's a general contractor, so he understands the importance of measuring, and sometimes I feel like I want more artistic freedom since I'm only dealing with paper and it's not as big of a commitment. So I'm just eyeballing that the center of that is where the center of my strip is. Then I'm going to go back and adjust this one so that it is right in the middle between the two. And it's looking like I've got, with 1/8 of an inch on the outside edge, I've got 1/4 of an inch between flags in the middle, if that helps you for placement on these. Okay. And it is a little bit hard to tell on the leaf pieces because they are almost the same blue, so they do blend in a little bit more. But I think I like that anyway. Okay, so then let's put my pictures from this side back on. And we'll see where they need to go. So this, again, this is the library, the Marsh library. And I'm just going to center, I think center these in their lane. So you can still see a little bit of the flags at the bottom. And over here on this side, these are meant to be centered. Maybe I'll move this. I don't know. Let's see. I think that will be good right there. And I can do some little bit of journaling in here, and there's still room for embellishments, that kind of thing. All right, so I'm going to get these stuck down, then I'm going to assemble the right hand side of the page. All right, so let's go ahead and work on the other side. Assembling this one. So let me, 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Hopefully they go back on. This one, this page has way more photos, and so getting them put back on in the way that they need to go back on may be a challenge, but hopefully it will all work out. All right. Do any of you, when you go on vacation, do you have to go, are there any like places everywhere you visit that you have to go and see every place? Like, do you have to go see a library if there's a library? Do you have to go visit a bookstore? Do you have to visit a cafe? Do you have to visit a marina? You know, there's just all kinds of different things, I would think, that there are in many places in the world that maybe other people make a point to go see. I'm just curious if those of you who enjoy traveling, if you have anything like that that you always try to do. Like, do you always try to get a pizza everywhere you go, or do you, you know? I just think that would be interesting. If you put that in the comments, it'd be interesting for all of us to hear and know. Okay, so we're going to start with this one. Okay, and this one, remember, our hinges are the center. So we're going to go up here about 1/2 inch from the top and all the way into the jeeping, and I just put that all the way down and it wasn't quite all the way into the G-pink, so let me fix it. There we go. Okay, all the way into the G-pink. Then we're going to take this one, which are more trees, but I guarantee you we won't see much of this paper on this page because it'll be covered with various pictures. But the pictures are more important to me than the paper. The paper is just a nice backdrop, so it'll be fine. Okay, so there's that. Then we're going to do just like we did before. We're going to put down the 6x2 at the bottom and make it even with the bottom of the tree paper. And then we're going to add our owls. And once again, remember the owls go directly on top of the lined paper, but I want to make sure that they meet the lighter tree paper out here. So making sure that those two lines are where they're supposed to be. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and put the piece across the top and come back and do flags. All right, and you know what? Just to be sure that I'm putting this piece where it should go, I'm going to line it up with my left-hand side of my layout so that it's in the exact same place and isn't off kilter somehow. Okay, so that's one's going to go right here. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and put the flags down. And on this side we're going to do 3 that are the plaid side up and 3 that are leaf side up. So again, I'm going to start on this edge out here. Oh, come on now, work with me here. My owls are not playing nice. Alright, so 1/8 of an inch from the center. An 1/8 of an inch from the right hand edge. Oh, there we go. Okay, then we're going to do 1/8 of an inch directly in the middle. So I'm just lining it up on the grid on my desktop so that I can tell a little more easily where the middle is. And of course, I just shifted everything. And because I have adhesive all the way out to the tip, it's stuck to my fingers. So when I just tried to let it go so that I could set it down where I wanted it, it came out with my hand, which is not helpful to my cause. Okay, so then these two we're going to flip over just so we are consistent with how we did the other side. And again, roughly 1/4 of an inch in between each one. I actually think I got my center one not quite centered. So let's move this guy over just a skosh. There, that's better. Okay, and if your repositionable adhesive is shiny, you can see it, and you can just rub off those pieces and all will be well. Okay, now we need to go ahead and get our photos on here. These two went up here. These went over here. And I had the map. And then this one went kind of in between. And this one was down here, so this was moved over a bit so that this one would fit. And then this one went in here like so, and this one like a bit like that. Okay, that leaves us a little area up here where we can do a title and yeah. Let me trim this one just a little bit, then I can maybe lower. So just taking 1/4 of an inch off the bottom of this one will allow me to move it down and give me some more room up there. Okay, so as I was saying earlier when we were talking about the photos, you can see now there are several maps on this page. I literally went through about 16 different pictures of maps, different maps, to narrow down which ones I would put in here. And honestly, I can't even really explain how I determined which ones to put in and which ones not to put in. I just thought some of them were interesting because they, if you look very closely, it'll say, like out here in what we now know are the western states, the western United States, it says parts unknown, and it actually shows land with this great big like river, wide river going up it, which we know is not true, not accurate at all. So just kind of interesting how early cartographers mapped our world, and what a difficult profession that must have been to try to do accurately. So here's the part where I was telling you a lot of this is going to get covered up. Sometimes you just can't tell what's going to get covered up and what's not going to get covered up, so you do your best to not cover it all, but when you want to get this many photos on, sometimes you don't really have a choice in what gets covered up and what doesn't. Sometimes you can adjust things. You can adjust sizes and you can adjust locations of photos, but John Lederer, so there was a plaque in the library that talks about John Lederer and how he marched 3 times from Virginia to the west of Carolina and other parts of the continent in 1672. And this book right here talks about him over here, John Lederer, and provides a map of what he found in the Carolinas. So just kind of cool that the two went together. So I decided that they needed to be in this book, represented in this book. Notice that in the sketch, many of the photos that they've got are matted, and I did not mat any of these photos, which may or may not make you happy. But I decided that with all these photos on here, really we didn't need a bunch of extra mats. So I just decided I wasn't going to worry about mats on this. Okay, so we can place this photo in here, or we can place it a little closer. I'm going to place it up here and just sort of center it between this photo and the one below it. And I'm doing that so that I have a little bit more journaling area. So I can write in this space right here, and I can also write right here. And then I can still put a title up in that upper space up there. So this picture is of a little Lego ship that they had in the library, but what I was trying to capture more were the books that were behind it. Can you see those? Might be difficult to see on the video, but they are just so old that the bindings are cracked and worn, and I just thought they were really neat. But also down here, this is an excerpt from a chapter of the famous voyage of Sir Francis Drake, the first general that ever sailed around the whole globe. So I just thought it all kind of went together. Okay, now we need a couple of more flags to complete this layout, and I didn't cut those, so let me grab my trimmer and that short piece that I had back here. I'm just going to cut 3 quick flags and use my scissors to trim them up. And then we'll do some quick embellishments and you'll be on your way. Okay, so scissors, pens are falling everywhere. I need a better system for keeping my pens. Okay, so corner to corner, cut. All right, I just stacked these and I'm cut 2 at a time. I'm more efficient than I even knew I could be. Okay, so now these cute little flags, according to our sketch, are placed on the outside. We've got one right here, we've got one right here, and they just sort of augment the cute little border that we made at the bottom. So we can make these whatever color we want to make them. I think because they are largely going to be seen on this lighter paper, I'm going to go with the darker leaf for these flags rather than the lighter plaid. And let's see where we want to put them. I did go ahead and cut 3 with the idea that maybe I can add some embellishing to them or something. I don't know exactly. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to put one coming off of this photo here. And I tried so hard. I thought that was level to my eye that was sideways. So to my sideways eye that was level, but it wasn't. So there we go. Now that's level. And this one I think is going to come over here and go, let's see, maybe we'll just make it go off the library right here. And then this one I'm going to put, actually, I think I'm going to, oh, I just tore that. The adhesive can be really strong, and when it sticks to my fingers, sometimes it's just a little more than I can do. All right, do I need another one? Could I use one of these pieces? I think I could probably just use one of these pieces. it stick out here and be kind of a reverse flag. Let's do that. That'll be fun. So I'm just going to stick this one kind of centered on that 1.5 inch border and tucked underneath the picture. Okay, and then we can add a little bit of embellishing to that. And as far as embellishments go, I have the embellishments that work with, oh, look at that. That would be cute. We could put that right there. That one's already put together too. I like that idea. Let's put this one up. I think I put this together the last time I was working with this and just decided that we would use it another time. So there we go. We're using it right there. And then another one. I've got all of these leaves and owls that I used my punches on. You've got All You Need Is Love, and it's owl good. Okay. I'm going to open this and get some more of these out, because I thought I had another feather or quill. We've got the light one up there in the corner. We could use this one, the darker one down here, and put another little owl. I love this one with the big old eyes. Okay, I think we're just going to use that. And we could say, what a hoot. No, because I want to put the name of the library. So, all right. Let me grab some foam squares. Since we used foam squares on the one up there, we'll be consistent and use foam squares on this one down here as well. We have the feather go out and the bird be more in, and we'll put I must have come in here and stolen some of the other hearts. We'll just use this guy. Sneak that in back like that. All right. Now, where are we going to put it? Maybe here? I think right there. It's going to be good. We've got our title up there. Or we could put it down here, but then we for sure are not going to see any of the flags on that page. I think I'm going to leave it here. Okay, and then could use another little friendly owl. And another little sign. We could put this down. That would be too much. We could put this down here. We're going to pop up this little guy. All right, so we're going to say birds of a feather flock together with this little guy. And we'll stick that right there. We could use a leaf, but do we really need one? I don't know if we really need one. Could do like that. Sure, why not? Okay, I'm just gonna add a little repositionable adhesive to that guy. We'll leave him flat, that feather, and just sort of slide him up underneath there. Okay, that is all I'm going to do in tweaking this page. Let me know what you think. I always love your comments, so please let me know if you would have done anything differently, or if you've been here to the Marsh Library. I would love to know that too. It was a tiny little secluded area, but like I said, there were just a ton of, you can see in this photo, just lots and lots and lots of aisles, but the aisles were short, much shorter than in the library at Trinity College, of course. You can see here that Handel wrote the funeral anthem for Queen Charlotte in November of 1818. That's a copy of the music that they had there. And this is talking about Virginia in America and Virginia in Ireland. I don't know if you knew that Virginia was a town in Ulster, which is in Ireland, and in Northern Ireland. And then they also, of course, brought it to America. We have our own Virginia here in America. So kind of cool stuff you learn when you visit a library, even if you don't crack a book. I love it. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you can use this layout in your own albums, and I hope that you've enjoyed spending this time with me. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Take care and make it a great day.